together. Together is an adverb indicating when two or more people are with each other, assembled in a group or united in goals. Together is never alone. The Hebrew word for together is Yachad, but Yachad means something much deeper than the simple act of being physically together. Connected to the Hebrew word Echad, meaning one, and the Hebrew word Achdut, meaning unity, Yachad speaks to the quality of our togetherness. It implies a unity of purpose, a deep and unbreakable solidarity, a shared vision and purpose. A mission, if you will. This year, the Board of Directors approved and introduced a new mission for the Harry and Rose Sampson Family JCC, a mission intended to guide the future we are building together. Creating spaces, building opportunities, inspiring Jewish moments for diverse communities. Together, we create spaces, physical spaces, emotional spaces, learning spaces, virtual spaces. Here, there, and everywhere, our community gathers. Together, we build opportunities. Opportunities for growth, for wellness, for learning, for inclusion. Opportunities for all, no matter where or who they might be. Together, we inspire Jewish moments. Moments big and small, looking forward and back, of deep meaning or just a chat with a new friend. And our togetherness encompasses diverse communities. Within our walls and beyond, those we serve today and those we seek to serve tomorrow. Our values are both universal and unique, and we can do more to serve more. Whether you find your JCC as a place for fitness, for education, or for community services, you are a part of this community, this family. As we move forward from challenging times, we do so, as always, with inclusive Jewish spirit, an innovative charge, and a commitment to being here at every stage of your journey. And we do it b'yachad, forward together. Good evening. Good evening and welcome to the 2021-2022 Annual Meeting of the Harry and Rose Sampson Family Jewish Community Center. I'm Nancy Kennedy Barnett, proud chair of this incredible board of directors. And whether you're joining us tonight in person in the Daniel M. Soroff Community Hall, online via live stream, or on recorded video days after the event, thank you for being here with us as we celebrate our success, honor those who made that success possible, and consider how we will continue to move forward together. It's always a privilege to be together in this space, being reminded that the strength of our community is always in our people, our shared vision, and the values and traditions that hold us together. I want to recognize leaders of our community who are joining us tonight. Miriam Rosenzweig, President and CEO of the Milwaukee Jewish Federation, and Mitch Moser, Executive Director of the Jewish Community Foundation. Thank you for being with us tonight. And whenever we get together, whether to look forward or back, we are reminded of the responsibility to look to those values and teachings to guide us. We are blessed with great Jewish education throughout this community, and it's an even greater blessing to demonstrate that when we say lahitraot, we really do mean until we meet again, as opposed to goodbye. With that in mind, please join me in welcoming our recently retired Judaic Education Director, my forever friend and teacher, Jody Hirsh, to deliver tonight's Devar Torah. Jody?
Yes, thank you so much. It's good to be here. And I thank Nancy, who asked me to give this Devar Torah. Certainly, I'm no stranger to a Devar Torah at the annual meeting. So I actually want to talk about the Parsha, the Torah portion for this week. There we go. So it's Parshat Bamidbar. So this is the weekly portion that we're reading this week and culminating on the Shabbat. I want to look at what that means, Bamidbar. So that is actually the name for the book of Numbers in the Torah, in the five books of Moses. So translating Bamidbar as numbers. So this week we're reading the very first part of the book of Numbers in the Torah. And it's called Numbers in English because there was a census. It tells us with great detail how the children of Israel counted the people who had just escaped from Egypt, and they were going to be wandering for 40 years in the desert. So that's why we call it Numbers. But for those of you who know Hebrew, actually what it means is Bamidbar, in the desert. Because if you look at the entire book of Numbers, yes, it has the census in it. That's a really incredible, radical, important thing. But it's really about the 40 years that the children of Israel wandered in the desert. And it's so interesting. In our Parsha this week, we read the following. And the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, the children of Israel shall camp under each flag with the symbol of the house of their ancestors. They shall camp around the tent of meeting at a distance. So it's about this tent of meeting is where the central religion happens in those days in the desert. And it tells us specifically in this book where each tribe was. That there's certain tribes on the north, on the south, on the east, and the west, what was in the center, what people looked at, and so forth and so on. So this is really what this book of the Bible is about. It's about how they were organized while they wandered in the desert. Now, if you think about it, life was very different for the Israelites as they wander in the desert than it was when they were in Egypt as slaves. And even if the way they were before Mount Sinai, because after Mount Sinai, they're commanded to have a certain order to the community based on the various tribes. And so really the entire book of Numbers, in a certain way, is about transitions. Because they have just transitioned from one way of living to an entirely different way of living. So the Am Yisrael, the Jewish people, are living in a different way. Now that word Am, nation, the Jewish people, the Jewish nation, at first they were just tribes. Before that, they were a family, right? And actually in the very beginning of the book of Exodus is the first time that the Jewish people were called an Am, a nation. So what does it mean that you're transitioning as a nation? So think about it. There's a transition from family to nation. There's a transition from slavery to freedom, from fear to security, from stationary life in Egypt to wandering for 40 years in the desert, from Sinai to creating the tabernacle and the cult of the religion, from wandering to establishment later on in the Promised Land. And then even later, especially after the temple was destroyed, we have had the transition from being a religion of the temple and priests to a religion of synagogues and rabbis, which is an incredible change from the way they were. And I mean, those of you who know me know that I'm constantly saying that I think right now, as we sit here, we're in the midst of one of these really big, incredible transitions. We just don't quite recognize what it is exactly, but so many things are changing in our world. So we can say that the transitions are about the Jewish people, but transition is much larger than that. So we have transitions in our own personal lives. Bruce Failer, who is known to some of you as an author, he wrote a book about hiking and archaeology in the Holy Land. He's written a book recently called Life is in the Transitions, in which he says in each of our personal lives, we experience what he calls life quakes. Things change so radically. Sometimes it seems very dramatic, sometimes it creeps up onto us. So think about it. Graduation from high school is an incredible transition. Graduation from college, marriage and human and relationships, romance, parenthood, divorce, illness, health issues of ourselves and of people that we love, loss. Moving into a new house is one of those earthquakes, life quakes rather. A new job, unexpected surprises, sexual awakening. Even when we talk about transitioning, we talk today more than we ever did before about even gender transitioning. So there's just so many transitions in our lives, in our personal lives. We also see transitions in our community. We see transitions in politics. We see transitions and we change priorities. We see transitions because we have to respond to changes in society. We see transitions due to danger and violence. I don't have to tell you about that. We're going through this right now. We have transitions because we need to, as a community, because we need to respond to changes in that community. And of course, we see transitions in the entire world. We see transitions having to do with prosperity and poverty worldwide, immigration, emigration, refugee status, war, health advances and health crises. I don't have to tell you. I mean, we're in the middle of this pandemic of COVID. And really and truly, if you think about it, JCCs are all about transitions. Because we as a JCC feel that it's really necessary for us to respond to changes that we see around us. Changes in all those ways that I saw, the Jewish people, our community, the world, all of those ways. And that's what the JCC is all about, is responding to changes and making transitions. And so this leads me back to Nancy Barnett. So Nancy has been my student since I first moved here, and now I'm retired. And we're talking about a double transition right here, because one is Nancy's transition. She's leaving the board, and if I know Nancy and if you know Nancy, she's going to definitely keep busy. But it's also about the JCC needs to transition to a new JCC without Nancy as the president as the chairman of the JCC. So transitions is totally what we're about here. It's what the Jewish people is about, and it's what the world is about. So thank you very much. And I would like to introduce Jamie Miller, who will carry on. Thank you, Jamie.
Hello, I am Jamie Miller, and it's a pleasure to be here this evening. I get the pleasure of kicking off tonight's annual meeting. But first, I've had an opportunity many times to speak on behalf of the JCC, and more often than not, the words are prepared for me, which is awesome. And I'd like to do a special shout out to Chad Tesmer for always being there to help create the words and to always make me sound better than I really deserve. So I just want to thank Chad. And tonight, I'm actually here on behalf of Joe Castle. Joe is the immediate past board chair, and despite Jody's words that Nancy is leaving, Nancy, you are the next chair of the nominating committee, so you will be around. But I was the chair of the nominating committee a few years ago, and Joe, now as the past chair, was the chair of the committee this year, and so I am here for him without my baseball cap and pink shirt. But as past chair, Joe had the privilege of serving over the wonderful nominating committee. The nominating committee is a group of community advocates who place the JCC's mission, strategic goals, and vision at the forefront. They identify the leaders and the future leaders who are best prepared to help the J achieve success. I want to thank, on behalf of Joe, the members of the committee for their effort and leadership and continued contributions to the JCC. I am particularly proud to offer for a vote the nominated directors who will begin or continue their term of board service. This year, 4 individuals were nominated from a list of incredibly talented candidates to fill board roles. I would like to submit a motion for the following slate to serve on the 2022-23 JCC Board of Directors. Nominated for a first 2-year term, Ricardo Diaz, Stephanie Dykman, Cheryl Rubin, and David Wasserman. Nominated for a second 2-year term, Lena Dreyfus-Wallace, Jason Levin, James Madlam, and John Wirtz. Nominated for a third 2-year term, Missy Barnett, Rana Bromberg-Pashevsky, and Julie Rosenfeld. I would call for a request from the floor. Are there any other nominations for board positions currently? Hearing none, I would offer a motion that the JCC accept the slate of board members as presented. All members of the JCC are welcome to vote for this slate of board members. May I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
All right, so was that Sue? Sue Straight was the first, and Lloyd was the second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Awesome. Let me be the first to wish our 2022-23 board deepest congratulations, gratitude, and good wishes. Will all members of our board of directors please stand, and let's all offer a round of applause for their leadership and contributions to our community. Mazal Tov. I will now move to the nominations and voting of the officers of the Board of Directors for the Harry and Rose Sampson Family Jewish Community Center for the 2022-23 program year. I invite all current and new board members to vote for the officer positions. As a reminder, only board members may vote for the officer position. Those nominated are Ryan Odeski as chair, Alexandra Rose, Secretary and Treasurer, Steve Aronson, Vice Chair, David Cohn, Vice Chair, Lori Craig, Vice Chair, Michelle Elner, Vice Chair, and Rini Cavalar, Vice Chair. I would call for a request from the board, and are there any other nominations for officer positions at this time? Hearing none, I would offer a motion that the JCC board accept the slate of officer members as presented.
Motion.
Missy Barnett. I would like a second from the board member for the slate of officers. For a second. Leo Kleiner. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. I would like to extend congratulations and wish success to our newly appointed officers. Steve Aronson didn't know what I was going to be speaking about tonight, and so every time I mentioned his name, he said he was going to make a donation to the JCC. So, Steve Aronson, I love you. That's 3. Finally, I have the honor, Steve Aronson. 4. Elise, do you have his number? Got it. Finally, I have the honor to recognize those board members whose terms of service has come to an end. Their contributions to the JCC in both time and talent will pay dividends that will last a lifetime. We are grateful to these leaders and look forward to their continued contributions to our agency and community. Please join me in thanking these board members. Dr. Stephen Moffick and Scott Yauk. Thank you both, Steve and Scott, for your numerous contributions, from special events like KidShare or Tapestry programs to leveraging your personal expertise and skills to contribute to our agency in unique ways. There is no doubt that our JCC is a better place because of your contributions. Finally, a special note of appreciation to Yes. This is a photo taken by Steve Aronson. Finally, a special note of appreciation to Cheryl Rubin, who has concluded her term on our executive committee, even if she now joins the at-large board as a newly elected member. I told Cheryl there's like a 5-minute or a 20-second time span when she's not really officially on the board, so enjoy your moment. Welcome back. Cheryl has been an active, passionate, and deeply engaged member of our executive committee. She leads our culture of philanthropy efforts, recently served as co-chair of KidShare during extraordinary circumstances, deeply contributed to the development of our mission statement, and has been a steadfast advocate for our programs and services, Camp Interlochen JCC chief among them. We are all blessed that Cheryl will continue to serve on our board of directors, but feel compelled to specifically honor her contributions as an officer this evening. As past chair, I've benefited directly from Cheryl's voice and leadership. Please join me in thanking Cheryl uniquely for her investment and her willingness to continue. Thank you so much, Cheryl. On behalf of Steve Aronson, I'd like to introduce our new board chair via video, Ryan Odeski.
Good evening. Thank you all for joining us tonight. I'm sorry I couldn't be with you in Community Hall to share my appreciation in person, though I do think that's also a good news story, demonstrating how far we've come as an organization, that we can still work together even when we can't be together. An outcome of COVID, sure, but also an intentional investment in building community in all the ways the JCC can. I want to thank the nominating committee, the board of directors, and the entire JCC community for the trust and opportunity offered to me in this appointment. I accept it with great humility and even greater appreciation for the leaders that have come before me. Specifically, I want to honor the steadfast leadership of Nancy Kennedy Barnett, who has led us with calm and discipline in an uncertain and challenging environment, and has always done so with kindness and dignity. Thank you, Nancy, for everything you've done to bring us to this point. As I think about the next 2 years of service, the opportunity in front of us, and the challenges we might confront, I'm hopeful that we can prioritize our work and build upon the strength we have gathered over the past few years. Every board chair is different, not just in style or skills, but also in what we hope to invest in this center and community. For me, I hope we continue to connect in new ways, even if it's as simple as sharing a video greeting when work takes you to San Diego. The world around us is changing at a rapid pace, and I look to our JCC to invest in opportunities and resources that will keep us connected and that will ensure we serve our ever-changing community. I know that we continue to move forward together. There are great lessons learned from the past few years, and I want to double down on discovering what's next for our community, our service areas, and delivering on our unique mission. I know that we can continue to achieve great things across all our program areas and uniquely understand and celebrate what being a part of this JCC means. As a member, a student, a camper, or a donor, I want us to continue to strive towards a sustainable model for service and success. It'll be my job as chair and as a member of this board and community to continue to empower this exceptional team to do their best work and make the best decisions on behalf of our community. I hope to be here as a guide, a strategic advisor for the hard decisions that might come to us, and as a cheerleader for the great successes we will certainly attain. Mostly, I want to ensure that the JCC will always be what it has been for me and my family, an almost everyday destination in every age of life. The JCC is family for the Odeskis, and I will put in every effort to make that possible across the wide range of spaces, opportunities, and moments that make us who we are. Thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for joining me in celebrating this JCC, for being part of something bigger, and for working in partnership to chart a course for us to move forward together.
This is one of those moments where it's a weird job that I have. Every 2 years, I get a new boss, and it seems to be a boss that Steve Aronson picks. I don't know how that was the theme. But then Steve doesn't pick himself as the boss. And so every other year, I find myself standing up here trying to figure out how do you summarize a relationship with somebody who you've spent this kind of time with. So it's only 2 pages long, 14.1.5 spaces. This week in the Torah, who knew that Jody would talk about the Torah? I probably should have known that. It's Bamidbar, and it's part of the idea of taking the census of the people of Israel. Each person is counted, and each person counts. In my opinion, which is based in more than a year of having our supervision meetings start with a quick moment of studying Torah, that is exactly the way that Nancy Barnett sees everyone. B'Tselem Elohim, each person has been created in God's image, and this is the leader that Nancy Barnett has and will continue to be. Each lay person, each member, each and every staff member, they count. As part of what we study in this week's parashah, Rabbi Sachs says, a Jewish leader has to respect individuals. She must lift their heads. However large the group you lead, you must always communicate the value you have of everyone, including those that others exclude. It seems so appropriate that this is the parashah for this week. Tzedakah is a pillar of Nancy and Jim's lives. Tzedakah not only in the way we often think of it as charity, but so much more in the root word, tzedek, one of justice. These past 2 years have been filled with a need to explore exactly what justice means in completely new ways. And it is this dedication to tzedakah that made Nancy the right chair at the right time. I was just in Jacksonville, Florida, sitting with the executive director of their JCC and their chair of the board. And as I was listening to their outgoing chair describe her time, she said, well, yeah, I'm the pandemic chair. I'm the COVID chair. And I thought to myself, you know, Nancy, you haven't been our pandemic chair. You haven't been our COVID chair. You've just been our chair. While nothing can describe what we have gone through these past 2 years, it shouldn't be relegated to those things we couldn't control. I mean, we probably could have controlled the pandemic, but that's a scientific conversation. That sounded so much funnier when I started thinking of it in my head. But rather, Nancy, that you are the right chair for the right time. You have been our chair of abundance. You have been our chair of tzedakah. You have been the chair of a new mission statement. You have been the chair of resiliency. You've been the chair of growth and recovery, the chair of justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, and you have been the chair of a culture of philanthropy. You have been my chair of support, friendship, insight, and Torah. Nancy, you have been the chair of the board of the Harry and Rose Sampson Family JCC for the last 2 years, and I can tell you, each and every one of us is better, without a doubt, that you dedicated all of your resources to guide and lead us. Now, let me be clear when I say the word all of your resources. Upon being nominated chair of the board, Nancy immediately quit all of her other lay responsibilities. So for those of you who had Nancy on your board, I apologize, but she's probably on her way back, so don't worry about it. And so, Nancy, as a sign of true stewardship and gratitude for all that you have done, why don't you come on up? This feels weird with you sitting there. I want to let you know that we've gotten you exactly what you wanted. Do you know what we got you? Not a thing. Not a thing because you don't like things. Instead, we have followed in your footsteps, and on your behalf, we are making donations to the funds that you care about. Those here at the JCC, at Hirsh, Congregation Shalom, all of the places that have been meaningful to you and your family's lives. And speaking of funds, I am proud to share with you tonight that through the generous support of Nancy and Dr. Jim Barnett, we have opened up a new fund at the Jewish Community Foundation to support our JCC, and it is called the Board of Directors Todah Rabbah Fund. This was an idea that Nancy has come up through our culture of philanthropy, and this fund will live on so that all of the JCC's journey of culture of philanthropy will continue, that the chairs that follow in Nancy's footsteps and the lay leaders have the wherewithal, the financial resources to thank all the people who choose to invest in our JCC, whether it's their time, the mitzvah in their lives, the choice to make us the recipient of the tribute donations. Nancy and Jim have made sure that our culture of philanthropy can continue. And so I want to thank you, Nancy, for seeing me and this entire community through these beautifully abundant eyes that you have. Todah Rabbah.
Thank you. Who left his glasses? You want them, Jamie? There might be. So, my JCC journey began in 1989 when my youngest son was placed in the yellow room here in Whitefish Bay. Since then, I've had kids and grandkids go to Rainbow Day Camp in Ganami. My kids were campers and counselors at Camp Interlaken, where my middle son met his wife. I became an adult bat mitzvah after becoming a lifelong learner, taking classes with Jody Hirsh for over 20 years. My husband works at the Jewish Food Pantry and attends men's club activities. And I have grown as I became the community leader that I am today. There is a community here for everyone at our JCC. I love our JCC. I love the community we have created, the center where we make everyone feel welcome, and there is something for everyone. I follow a long list of JCC chairs who were not born and raised in Milwaukee, but figured out what everyone in this room knows. We have a terrific community and JCC. I like to say that I stand on the shoulders of those who come before me, and today I become part of the foundation for Ryan and those who follow him. Mark challenged me 2 years ago to state what success would look like at the end of my term. Certainly, being in a world not in a pandemic would be among those goals. I began my term in a virtual meeting, and look at us today in person. That sounds like success. I believe in this community. There is nothing more powerful than the connections that are made and the relationships that are formed in a community. It is in human nature to build relationships and be connected. And I think one of the things that we learned in the past 2 years is how it feels to be isolated and how essential a sense of belonging is for our humanity. Community fills our souls and joins us in a way that honors our authentic selves. And our JCC connects people and creates community. At the annual meeting in 2020, I talked about all the ways our JCC brings people together. And after 2 years of virtual and hybrid meetings, classes, and programs, never has the need for a central meeting place been more important. Meaningful connections are needed to combat loneliness. Communities are powerful because they are full of genuine and real people united by a common purpose. This was the first year we lived under our mission, and it describes why we do what we do. Creating spaces, building opportunities, inspiring Jewish moments for diverse communities. The pandemic allowed us to create new ways to reach people who otherwise would not have come through our doors. We were able to reach people through Zoom or other types of external programming. And now that we have them involved, our opportunity is to keep them engaged. It is possible to create meaningful engagement through online technology. Our tapestry program thrived this year. We had a season of performance and visual arts, films, culinary arts, a literary series, and educational classes. People need people, and we're the place where people meet, virtually and in person. Our community has enlarged. Our early childhood program, Gone Me, has never been stronger, and classes are full on both the Whitefish Bay campus and in Mequon at the Linda and Fred Wine Center, and our camps are jam-packed this summer. I love our JCC community. One gets to meet so many fantastic people that otherwise one would never meet. Community is so powerful because when one is engaged in community, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Communities ask and aim to answer hard questions, and the collectivity of sharing and contributing builds towards a better future. Our JCC is a safe harbor, a place where one is welcome no matter who you are. I am very proud to announce that this year our board approved a Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Covenant. You are welcome here if you are a Jew, Christian, Muslim, straight, gay, trans, or any other group. All are welcome through our doors. We lead with and put into action our Jewish values of all are made in the image of God, welcoming all guests, honor and respect, community. All are responsible for each other and repairing the world. Our board and lay leadership has never been stronger, and that matches the terrific professional leadership and staff employed by our JCC. There is true successful partnership in our agency. There's a saying that you shouldn't know how the sausage is made. Well, I do know how the JCC sausage is made, and I like it even more. So let's give it up for our staff. This has been an exceptional year, and they are extraordinary people who give more than what is asked of them. To me, success also includes our thriving culture of philanthropy, and I want to take this opportunity to thank our donors. Without our community of donors, we would not have succeeded. Nearly 300 donors contributed to our campaign for Your J. Many of you are sitting in this room right now. When we asked for help, you answered, you are still answering, and I say to you, thank you. We are blessed to partner in serving our community with the Milwaukee Jewish Federation. The Federation community supports us in everything we do. The Milwaukee Jewish Federation, their leadership, and their donors has also responded and supported us. Thank you very much. We are a beneficiary agency of the United Way of Greater Milwaukee and Waukesha counties, and we are affiliated with the JCC Association of North America. I thank those communities, their leadership, and donors too. Our JCC community enriches lives through classes, events, our wellness center, camps, and early childhood center, and creates friendships and relationships everywhere. One never needs to be alone at the JCC. Once you enter through our doors, you are likely to make a friend. You matter at the JCC. Thank you for trusting us with your time, your lives, and your loved ones. I want to thank our board and welcome our incoming board. We accomplished a lot in the past 2 years, and we have great opportunities in front of us. I especially want to thank Ryan Odesky for taking on this mantle of leadership, and I thank you, Mark Shapiro, for being my partner. These past 2 years have been a terrific time in my life. My personal community has grown, and I have been blessed to be able to give to our greater Milwaukee community. It truly has been a privilege and an honor to serve as the chair of the board, and I thank you. Please join me in welcoming a JCC leader who continues to accept the mantle of leadership and will do so for many years to come, JCC Vice Chair David Cohn, to present tonight's Roman Shklyar Outstanding Jewish Tennis Player Scholarship Award. David?
Thank you, Nancy, for your dedicated years of service and leadership. It's been an honor to serve alongside you and learn from everything that you do and that you've shared with our community, so thank you. So I have the honor of presenting the Roman Shklyar Outstanding Jewish Tennis Player Scholarship Award. As Executive Director of First Tee Southeast Wisconsin, I often sit front row to the power of recreation in the lives of our young leaders. And I'm often in awe of the capacity they have for good work and incredible leadership. That remains the case tonight, as I have the honor to present this award, named in honor of Roman Shklyar by his family and friends, to recognize a young Jewish tennis player who excels in sports and life. This year's recipient, Ellie Sprinkman, will graduate from Homestead High School this month with a 3.978 grade point average, which is a lot more decibels than I think I had, and will head to the University of Wisconsin-Madison this fall. A member of both the High Honor Roll and the National Honor Society, Ellie was recipient of the Merit Award, the Highlander Award, and was recognized with the Brewers Academic Achievement Award. On the court, Ellie served as varsity captain, was named first team all-conference, had 3 undefeated regular seasons over the course of her high school career, and was a 3-time sectional and 3-time conference champion. Ellie was twice named Most Valuable Varsity Tennis Player and was 2-time state champion as a member of the Homestead team. Ellie's also an active community leader and volunteer, having worked with Friendship Circle, the Milwaukee Jewish Teen Philanthropy Board, and as an OZO at Camp Interlochen JCC. Over the course of her BBYO experience, Ellie has served as chapter treasurer, chapter vice president, regional treasurer, and head of recruitment. Please join me in congratulating Ellie Sprinkman, 2022 recipient of the Roman Shklyar Outstanding Jewish Tennis Player Scholarship Award.
Thank you, Deacon, for that introduction. First off, I want to thank the committee for selecting me to be this year's Roman Shklyar Outstanding Jewish Tennis Player recipient, and I especially want to thank the Shklyar family for this honor. It started with Mommy and Me classes, evolved into daily walks from MJDS after school on Fridays, and culminated with the fantastic BBYO events and meetings. The memories, experiences, and lessons I have learned from the JCC have truly shaped me into the proud Jewish leader today. I'm so lucky to have such a wonderful, thriving Jewish community in Milwaukee, and I cannot thank you all enough for helping lead this organization so that Jewish teens, like myself, have a place where we can continue to expand our Jewish identities. Tennis has been an essential part of my life. Starting out as a mindless game with foam paddles and balloons, this simple game has taught me the importance of teamwork, the joy of finding a passion in life, and the wonder of seeing hard work pay off. However, I wouldn't be where I am in my tennis career without the 2 coaches who have stuck by my side, Todd Miller and Jackie Egelhoff. I want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Without your countless hours on the court mentoring me physically and emotionally, without your guidance, encouragement, and motivation, I would not be the tennis player and person I am today. I'd also like to thank my parents, Jody and Peter Sprinkman, for the countless rides to lessons, drills, and tournaments. You've helped me become the confident, proud, and accomplished Jewish teen standing up here today, and I cannot thank you enough. Playing tennis has done so much for my life. Specifically, it has motivated me to teach others, and I began working with children with debilitating conditions. Soon after, I began volunteering at the Wisconsin Adaptive Sports Association to teach children in wheelchairs tennis. This has now helped me realize my passion for working with children, and now I know that I want to pursue a future in developmental psychology. I'm pretty sure that when my parents first signed me up for tennis, they did not realize the magnitude of this sport and how it would drastically alter the course of my life. Standing here, I'm thankful for this recognition and I'm honored. Thank you all so much.
Congratulations again, Ellie. Please join me in welcoming recently retired JCC Director of Special Needs and Inclusion, Jody Margolis, who will present the 2022 Yachad Award for Community Partnership.
Whew, that feels better. As Director of Special Needs and Inclusion here at the JCC, I've had an opportunity to sit in this room and witness as we've awarded to so many community partners that make our work possible. From the Daniel M. Sorf Charitable Trust to the Marcus Corporation for their corporate support, to the Harold Grinspoon Foundation and Hunger Task Force for their ongoing partnership, to the Milwaukee Jewish Federation and the United Way of Greater Milwaukee and Waukesha County, who continue to set the standard for community service, and Northwestern Mutual and Milwaukee Admirals for their leadership throughout our community. We've established the Yachad Award as the touchstone for what strong partnership means. I am honored to present the Yachad Community Partner Award to two men who have served as an inspiration to me and who I'm happy to count as my friends after working so closely over the past few years. Driven by their passion for helping children on the autism spectrum, and maybe also by their love of a good day on the golf course, Rick Hurd and Randy Essenberg started their own golf outing to raise money for autism research. This is personal for Rick. His grandson is on the autism spectrum and is an active member of our JCC STARS program for youth with special needs. I encourage you to head back out to Main Street and enjoy some of his art displayed right now, but actually not right now, later. Eventually, Rick and Randy made their work official by establishing a 501c3 known as the Peermax Bank Association 4-Ball Golf Challenge, and they started sharing proceeds with other organizations that serve those with autism. The JCC has been a partner with Randy Essenberg for years, and Randy was instrumental in introducing Mark Shapiro and me to Rick Hurd and the incredible team at Peermax Bank. They shared with us that the golf outing could benefit from some experienced support, and without hesitation, we said yes. And we as a JCC jumped in with both feet, partnering to build a healthier Milwaukee, as we always do. That was in 2019. We worked alongside Rick and Randy to make the Peermax Bank Association 4-Ball Golf Challenge. Can I just say, this is a lot to say, and don't make me say it 4 times in a row, as successful as it could possibly be. And we continue to support the event for 4 summers later. Through hot days and COVID, and the JCC loves heading out to the links to volunteer at the holes, thank the golfers, and help with the auction in the evening and raise the paddle. And our wonderful Havarim members, they love to come out and sell raffle tickets, and many of them are on the autism spectrum as well. They, too, are so grateful for Rick and Randy and what these generous men have created. The JCC Center for Inclusion and Special Needs has been a fortunate beneficiary of the Peermax Bank Association 4-Ball Golf Challenge proceeds since 2019. But we get so much more back from these gentlemen than the generous funding. The opportunity to share our mission with people who care so deeply about a just and equitable, inclusive society reaps untold rewards, and to join other community organizations who share our vision for dignified service. So, on behalf of the entire staff, who basically are there on the day of the outing, and Board of Directors of the Harry and Rose Sampson Family JCC, the people we serve through the JCC, and the people we serve through the JCC Center of Inclusion and Special Needs, I proudly present the 2022 Yachad Community Partner Award to Randy Essenberg and Rick Hurd. So please excuse me. We have our daughter's getting married in a few weeks, so I'm being a little careful here.
This way, or I have to say it again?
I know.
Well, I can't be quite as eloquent as Ellie was, so we'll make this brief. Randy and I were very surprised and honored to be the HOD award winners this year. It's been a truly wonderful partnership with the JCC. And I especially like seeing my grandson on the tape. That was pretty good. But it's been our pleasure to work together. And I think because of the partnership, we are making real strides. So thank you very much.
Yes, I just want to reiterate what Rick said. This has been a joy. It's something that I've always wanted to do, and as the years went on and the partnership grew and introduced Rick to the people here at the J, it's just been a wonderful experience for me, and I look to continue to do this for many years. So come out on July 18th.
We do have openings for twosomes that want to play on July 18th.
Congratulations, Rick and Randy, and thank you too for all that you have done for our community. You two are truly our superheroes, and you have no idea how many hundreds of people you have impacted. The funds you have raised have had a positive effect on the children and young adults, their families, and their communities as well. Thus, the true meaning of the Yachad Award. Thank you again. To present the 2022 Joe E. Smith Award for Distinguished Community Service, please join me in welcoming my friend and partner, JCC President and Chief Executive Officer, Mark Shapiro.
This is the second of three, or maybe four, so try not to get sick of me. Most nights that I stand up here, I begin by saying, hi, my name is Mark Shapiro, and I am blessed to get to be the president and CEO of the Harry and Rose Sampson Family JCC. Tonight, I feel blessed for one really important reason. I get to share with all of you words that will try to capture the very unique spirit of tonight's Joe E. Smith Award winner. When Sharon and I moved our daughters up here to Milwaukee almost 18 years ago, we entered a Jewish community unlike the one we had come from. You see, when we came here, this community had strong leaders like they had in Chicago, except here, they were men and women. I can remember people telling me stories about how they wish I had met Esther Leah Ritz or a Tarot Cohn. I wish I had too. As a matter of fact, we were just talking about Esther Leah Ritz at dinner last night. And oh, were there stories about her. I learned as I started here that our JCC actually started in the mind and in the practice of Lizzie Kander's settlement cookbook. So tonight, I have the honor of standing here to share the story of yet another strong leader of our Jewish community. Judy Siegel-Guten, your list of accomplishments are so long, I'm just going to cherry pick a few of them so we can get out of here tonight. I want to tell you, you are Shem Tov, a good name. It is considered the highest of all spiritual crowns to have a good name. Even one of our great teachers, the Baal Shem Tov, took on the name that he was the master of a good name, and I think he's got a little run for his money. You see, when I think of the names of Judy Guten, these are what come to mind. Judy is the executive's executive. She is the coach's coach. She is a leader in every way you can imagine. She was a calm in a storm. And when the community needed her, she answered the call again and again and again. Even on the days that what she was called about was the hardest to do, she answered the call. It wasn't about each person, it was about her beloved community. Judy is a guide towards finding your own answers, not giving them to you, no matter how much you beg her to just tell you what to do. Judy is a visionary and has been for so many years. Judy loves this Jewish community. As a matter of fact, I'm going to use Judy's own words to tell you how much she does. Quote, simply speaking, the Jewish community is part of my fiber. It's not what I do, it's what I am. You served as chair of the Milwaukee Jewish Federation. You served as chair of the board here from 1991 to 1994. You were the third of what would become 7 amazing female chairs of the board of our JCC. You were the co-chair of a capital campaign that built this very building that we're sitting in 2005, that opened in 2007 with this beautiful Guten Family Discovery Center. It was part of that time and is still offers today to our community a place to gather, to have fun, and to actually teach the history of our older Jewish Milwaukee community, remembering the Guten Deli, Elbaum's Judaica, the Chicago Bakery, and the Rabinowitz butcher shop. Those of you who don't know why I'm talking about that, it's a good story for later. Judy's vision led her to become the co-chair of a summit back in 2010 that not only helped set the vision for a new Jewish community, but left an opportunity for someone to speak from your microphone on your lapel in an awkward moment. Judy, of course, did not do this all alone. Together with her beloved husband, Dr. Gary Guten of blessed memory, they set the bar really high for this community leadership. Now, many of you may not know that Gary was an author. That would be, of course, because if you didn't know Gary was an author, you never met Gary. Here at the JCC, we were blessed to host many of the release parties for his books. So I thought, I'm going to turn to Gary's words from one of his books to tell you how I and almost all of this community sees you. You know, it's a struggle to be the top banana. And this was, I was here from this stage as I remember Gary releasing this book. So I turned to his words to say, when you want to know how to be the top banana, do you know what you need? You need hope. H is for help. Judy, this community thanks you and recognizing you for all of the help that you have given to every one of us. O is for optimism. You are full of abundant optimism. You don't see the glass as half full, you just see it as full of potential, which was also something that you mentioned that I was full of, but it wasn't potential when we were coaching. P is for physician. You know, this was a hard one for me to come up with the tie-in to, but I think I got it. Your insight and experience has been a prescription for me and my growth as a leader. From the day I was named the acting executive director of our JCC, you started teaching me, showing me how to go and get my own answers because you wouldn't get them for me. And if you remember, one of the first things you encouraged me to do was to take this name tag that I was named as the acting executive director and change it to interim executive director because I wasn't acting, I was doing. E is for exercise. And while Gary meant actual physical exercise, teaching us the potential of walking backwards on a treadmill, which, by the way, freaked us out all the time since he had Parkinson's disease and we always thought he was going to fall off, but he never did. or the awe-inspiring ability that he had to play ping pong with 2 hands at the same time while a ball machine shot them at him, you have actually taught us a different version of exercise. You have taught us to exercise our ability to make a difference in the community that we live in. That we are all stewards of this beloved community, and we should all jump in. Judy, thank you for living a life of a shem tov, of a good name. And I can tell you that I join in this whole community with the honor that I get the chance to carry on the tradition of bestowing upon you this year's Joe E. Smith Memorial Award for great volunteer leadership to Judy Siegel-Guten.
So as I was thinking about the past, Ellie, you pushed me right into thinking about the future. You're remarkable, and we in the JCC and the Jewish community as a whole, and I got very distracted by you. I feel very positive about our future because we have people like you coming forward, and I want to thank you for that. I just loved hearing about you, getting to know you peripherally, and I really think tonight, as much as I feel honored by the Joe E. Smith Award, what a man of esteem. To know that this is our future, we are really strong. We are really healthy. So I'm thinking about tonight too. Ooh, did I boom at you? All of a sudden. That when I listen to Nancy, and I listen to Ellie, and I listen to David, and you all reflected on what you've experienced, Cheryl Rubin experienced in this community and did in this community. And we talked about transitions. And I then read what I wrote down, and I'm thinking, am I redundant? And I'm thinking I'm not redundant, I'm one of you. Because I want to tell you a little bit about my journey. And because many of you started your journey with the children's programs here, I'm a little older. I started the program bowling at the JCC on Prospect. The JCC on Prospect had a bowling alley. And we went every Sunday. My sister's here. Remember, we went on Sunday. We took the bus. We went to the JCC. Not only did we bowl, but there was a little snack bar outside the bowling alley. And there was a woman behind that alley. She was a little crabby at times. I mean, we were annoying, but she at the same time loved us. She made the best hamburgers around. And we sat there, but that was my tradition, is going to the J and being with my friends. Every single Sunday, we went and hung out at the J. We didn't know what we were going to experience, but it was our community, and we came from all over the city. My sister and I were raised in Cudahy. We found our Jewish community on Prospect. It was a good thing. When I was in high school, talk about going back, by the way, you'll get out on time. I'm not going to be too tedious about this. But when I was in high school, I worked at the Saturday program for children. That's what it was called. It was a Saturday program for children. And was on the second floor in the old Prospect building, and I learned how to work through the Saturday program. I was a camp counselor at Clutch Park Day Camp. Our day camp was at Clutch Park for many years. And I remember pulling bus duty because kids had to swim, but there was no real place to swim there. So we would bus them to the JCC on Prospect twice a week to swim, to eat, and then go back. But you know what? The JCC gave them a real camp experience. Here we were at a public park. We had tables that defined our groups. We got on a bus to go swim, and they had a day camp experience because our counselors knew how to enrich and bring values and to bring spirit. It didn't matter where we were. And then as a young mother, bringing my son and my daughter, my son's sitting right there. He was just a toddler, not a toddler anymore. His firstborn son just graduated from high school, so we're talking a long time ago. They came to toddler gym classes at Prospect, so we started bringing them to toddler gym classes, and that's where we began to build friendships that last to this day. Then day camp again, but for our children. And then overnight camp for our children and then our grandchildren. And my husband Gary, as Mark talked, exercised at the J every single day. He was there, he swam, he exercised, and me not so much. But I knew how to talk, so I did the talking, he did the doing. He was so fit. And as a volunteer, my volunteer life at the center was so rich because of all of you, because there's a tremendous amount of trust between staff and volunteer. People really want to learn from each other, and we knew that we were not only invited in, we were welcomed in, and that our words were important, and the words of our staff were important, and together in partnership, we built something very great. We could make hard decisions together because of the amount of trust. And because of that, we had real impact on our members' lives, and I think you heard that from everybody reflecting on what they did at the center. That's because of planning. None of that happens naturally. All of that was planned. And because it was planned well, people could reflect with joy. So these years as a child, as a parent, and as a volunteer have brought us in the Guten family the culture and the historical richness that our Jewish Community Center offers. And I think that's our real heart. We work at our facility, but our heart is in what we do and how we are. It's in our values and our culture. And Mark, I can't believe that I wrote this line down and you quoted me, that the J is part of my fiber. It really is. So I so appreciate this honor because it's named for Joey Smith. What an icon in our community. Nancy can testify, when you called me, you caught me off guard and you offered me this, and it choked me up. I was so touched. First of all, it was you making the call because I honor you. That meant so much. And that the Joey Smith Award, which I esteem and I honor, was something that you felt I merited it. That meant so much to me. So I so deeply appreciate that the J has brought all it has to me and to my family and to all of us sitting here, that through every life cycle event so far, the J is here. Going forward, the J will always be here for all of us in our life cycle events. That it brings family, it brings home, it brings friendship, and it brings courage to plan for future generations, and that's our real job. So I'm honored by you. I want to thank you. This means everything to me. And I'm now going to go back and be a fly on the wall and be in your back pockets, and I'll help you wherever you need it. Thank you.
So I totally dig this night, because even when you look at the script, you don't necessarily realize what's going to maybe happen. This is one of my favorite nights, and not just because it's going to be over soon, but because I get to speak a lot about things that are really important to me. I get to talk about our Jewish community who stands with us and guides us every step along the way. I get the chance to thank the Milwaukee Jewish Federation and the Jewish Community Foundation for what they do every day to clear the way so that we, all of us who are part of Jewish leadership here, can do what we want to do. I get the opportunity to hear a young leader tell me that I've wasted the bulk of my life because you've accomplished more by the time you're graduating from high school than I have at 54. I get the opportunity to recognize our amazing donor community who invest in our work day after day and fill our community with abundance. To our volunteers who remind us again and again that we are best when we partner together with you. Your passion somehow exceeds ours, even though it's what we are paid to do. And of course, a moment to recognize my family of staff who make every day worth getting up and getting to go and work with you. Just a few weeks ago, I got one of those moments that you don't get very often. We were back at the Pfister. It was Kids Share. We were in person. We were stuffed from eating a lot of food, and it was time for me to try and see if we could get people to raise their paddle. And then there's that moment where I'm standing up in front, sweating profusely, and I'm trying to keep from the sweat mixing into the soon-to-be tears in my eyes as I look at that back wall, very similar to what I'm looking at right now, filled with staff who somehow seem to both get paid and volunteer every single day. And while we do a much larger full appreciation of these staff anniversaries at our annual all-staff professional conference, I do want to take a moment to honor the contributions of our team who are reaching a milestone anniversary. I want to thank each and every one of you as we go through this list, but I'm never more proud than to take the time to recognize you in front of the community that we are blessed to serve. So celebrating 5 years of anniversary of service here at the JCC, we've got Gwen Clay, Elizabeth Goodman, Heidi Gould, Jennifer Halaska, Janae Kukulis, Drema Lucas, Betsy Manhart, Rana Ruffin, Markson Samo, John Schwabe, Vera Simmons, Dory Steigman, and Susie Weineke. Round of applause for our 5 years. 10 years of service, Angela Burke, Kelly Libber, Jennifer Walker, and yes, I skipped a name because for a moment I need to recognize that we will be recognizing the 10th and, well, after tonight, probably not final anniversary. One of my observations from today is that retirement doesn't really seem to be retirement around here. But I do want to take a moment, as Jamie did, to recognize that for the last 10 years, I have had the absolute joy, pleasure, honor, and frustration of working with Chad Tesmer in trying to become one voice of the JCC for our community. I can say that the number of times that I have claimed that what Chad wrote were mine has parlayed into a very nice career for me the last 10 years. And it's only now fitting and fair that I acknowledge that Chad has been most of the voice for our community. And mostly at the times when we are really having our backs against the wall, whether it's bomb threats or other challenges. I've been able to turn to Chad for that calm in the storm, to be that voice that carries us forward. You will be greatly missed, and our entire community will be better for your staying in Milwaukee and becoming the executive director here in town. So, Mazel Tov and congratulations on your 10 years. And just bad news for Chad, we don't actually give you the gift until the staff conference, so you won't be here then, so. Celebrating 15 years of service at our JCC, Michelle Hoffman, Shara Cohn. Michelle is here. And Michelle has celebrated 15 years and 17 jobs, it appears. So, celebrating 20 years of service. If you have ever spent an hour in the Men's Health Center, then you know that our health center is what it is because of JJ. So we celebrate tonight 20 years of service for JJ Zolkin. And tonight, we actually have somebody at our 25th anniversary. I want to take a moment. I think Joanne is on watching tonight at home, and I want to take a moment to recognize Joanne Jackson. Joanne is very much a story of our JCC. 25 years of being employed here. Joanne is, to many people, the #1 connection for the JCC. But so many people who have been a part of our JCC don't know Joanne. Joanne has been teaching in our fitness classes for 25 years, connecting with members, helping them on their journey, and let me tell you, doing it with a smile. Joanne is here for all of our staff meetings. Joanne is here for all of our conferences. And I will tell you that I feel really blessed that we as an agency get the opportunity to recognize staff who may only work here a couple of hours a week, because those hours they work matter to every member that they connect with. And so, Joanne, congratulations on your 25 years here at the JCC. Mazel Tov to you. And with the reality of today's world being one in which people don't really stay at jobs for very long, I don't know how many more times I'm going to get the chance to do this. Tonight we recognize 2 of our staff for 35 years of working at our JCC. Now, I do the much longer version of this when we get to the staff conference, but there's no way I'm not gonna spend a few moments recognizing that we have two staff members that are known by their first names primarily and only their first names. Kind of like Cher and Charo. We have Lenny and Mickey. Fascinating, they don't actually work together, but they started in 1987. In 1987, I was in Bloomington, Indiana, watching the Hoosiers win a national championship. That was for David Margolis. Thank you for clapping for me. I was a sophomore at Indiana University, and you guys were working at the JCC. I want to take just a moment to tie these two stories together. When I started working at the J, Lenny didn't know what he thought of me. I'm not sure he does now either, but he really wasn't sure then. Mickey was really happy to see me. Lenny, not so much. Mickey was happy to get any and all help that she could. Lenny and I connected, disconnected, connected, disconnected, but have always built a relationship because of one thing primarily. Lenny cares about children, about happiness, about play, about community, about family, almost more than any human I've ever met in my whole life. Lenny Cass does not know how to fail at anything. Nothing stops him. And I mostly know this because I find out about the things he accomplishes a year after he does them. Mickey Seinfeld and I met at a cigar party. Max and Tybee were there to greet me as you were running the first or second ever cigar night. Because of course a JCC, a health-focused institution, would host a drinking and cigar night, which, let me be clear, we did for years and years and years, and if I have anything to say about it, we'll be coming back soon. And off we went in brainstorming crazy ideas like the poker night that never happened, or the constant commitment to KidShare. And I want to tell you that a couple of Thursdays ago, in the grand ballroom of the Pfister, 70 years came together to make magic. For 35 years, Mickey has been connecting with people to ensure that our culture of philanthropy goes on and on and on. I was looking at my speech from 2012 when we were epically proud that KidShare cleared $200,000 for the first time ever. And a couple of weeks ago, we got just a hair under $500,000 on a Thursday night. We got it because Lenny jumped up on a table and started telling the frog story. Because nothing will stop Lenny from doing whatever it takes to make sure that kids, families, people, children, anyone can get what they need. And so right now, I just want to take a moment to thank both of you. I get the joy and the luck of getting to be the person who takes credit for the things that you do. I think our community is exceptional because the two of you have made it this way for the last 35 years. Mazel tov on your accomplishment. Yeah, I was going to say, if you've ever been to KidShare or you've ever had Lenny take care of your children or grandchildren, it's time to stand up. Okay, so we're in the home stretch, and you get me. I had this really great idea of how I was going to start, but instead I think I'm going to go with observations from tonight. I definitely already told Ellie that she made me feel like I'm wasting my life, so that one's good. But I also want you to know my observation was that I've now been here long enough that I'm in the generation to generation that as you were standing up here, my daughter whispered, "That's my camper." Right? So here we are in that generation of that my daughter, who was 4 years old when we moved here, is now watching as the award recipient is her camper. I realized that recently retired doesn't mean anything if you worked at the JCC. That is clearly something that I had been looking forward to, but not so sure I'm looking forward to it anymore. I noticed that the words the center means something very different than the J or the JCC. It was your center, right? And I get caught up in this all the time, depending on who I'm talking to. Sometimes I'll often say, I'm going to the center. The center was on Prospect. It wasn't here. That's what I'm starting to learn more and more about. I'm also learning about this bus ride that people took to the J. I've heard it. If I had $1 for every time I heard the story about somebody who took the bus ride to the J, Steve Aronson wouldn't have to donate as much money as he is. So it's overwhelming to think about the idea of setting a vision. So let me begin. Creating spaces, building opportunities, inspiring Jewish moments for diverse communities. We've heard that a few times tonight. There's a reason. In this past year, our new mission statement was built, honed, wordsmithed, and ultimately approved by our board of directors, then shared with our community last August. And we thought the challenge was going to be writing it. Little did we know that making it to come to life was going to be not only equally as challenging, but way more exciting. Filled with opportunity, our staff and our lay leaders have set off to see what each and every word could mean and what it would look like in the real world of building community. As I began writing this year's annual meeting speech, around 2 o'clock this afternoon, I did what I always do. I procrastinated. And let me be clear, I procrastinated. I actually now think it was a life quake. That may have been what happened to me. So many different thoughts were hitting me at the same time, so many introductory statements or paragraphs. And then, as always happens to me, the imposter syndrome kicked in, and I started thinking that none of what I was saying was actually going to be that interesting to anybody. You know, I don't always know if what I'm thinking is really just weird or if it really has any value. And so I was hoping that tonight, for a few moments, I might be able to inspire you so that I could share a budding, generative, new idea that I quite frankly have been bouncing around for a couple of months, pretty much since last August. I was perusing some of my old speeches. I realized that I've spent a lot of time building my speeches on the words of other people, the ideas of other people, especially the ones that have really great ideas, the ones that sparked something in me. You know that feeling, kind of like when the hair stands up on the back of your neck or on your arm, and you get a little excited and then nauseous? And about the same time that that happens, I realized that I might be onto something. In August, I had the chance to hear Andreas Spokojny, the leader of the Jewish Funders Network, share his thoughts with the executives at a JCC conference. Now, at the same time, in looking backwards, I realized that, do you know, it's been about 10 years since a rabbi out of Pittsburgh, whose name is Aaron Bisno, rocked our Jewish world with an article called "It's Time for Courageous Conversations." Anybody remember this? Anybody remember talking about the idea that it's time for us to have courageous conversations, in which he challenged the leaders of synagogues and Jewish institutions to see a new and collaborative future for Jewish life? Well, it's been 10 years, a little more, since Aaron wrote that, and I found out, somehow I missed it, last year he wrote 10 years later on courageous conversations. Now, I'm going to give you the cliff notes of the article. We didn't do very well at all. As usual, courageous conversations got squelched by turf wars, or we tried that before and it didn't work, or other things like that. So here's what I'm going to tell you. It's time. It's time to try again. Now, I get to start tomorrow morning at breakfast with my friend Miriam. I am blessed to have a partnership with the CEO of our Milwaukee Jewish Federation that is one of colleague, a visionary, and a friend. And I look forward to rolling this thing out tomorrow morning at breakfast a little bit more. Realize Jewish life has gone through these radical changes in our 5,000 years. My friend Jody Hirsh told us he thinks we're right in the middle of one of those circles of like the pin in the timeline of history, like there was the temple period and the diaspora, the rabbinical period. He thinks we're right in the middle of one of them. I actually think he's right. And so if we are in the middle of that very change, is it possible that we're just holding on to what we've got too tightly? Holding on to what got us here. So I ask you a couple of questions. To you, what does a JCC in a post-pandemic new reality look like? Now, you can't really answer that question until you answer this question. What does a Jewish community look like in a post-pandemic new reality? Because what we do is we meet our community where they are. Although, do we? We say it a lot, or I should say, I say it ad nauseum. But do we really do it? Are we sure? Is it really the pandemic that has disrupted the status quo of community, or is the pandemic just created so much disruption in our lives that it's warning us we better seize the day and make some changes? Our mission statement, the one that we sunset with the new one coming in, had a very powerful statement that I promise you will not go away simply because we changed the paper that we put up on the wall. It told us that our responsibility was to meet the ever-changing needs of the entire Jewish community. Now, I would put in parentheses, not the ones who want what we want them to want. Imagine this. It's a story. It didn't actually happen. Imagine that Sharon and I went in for dinner at a restaurant. Now, we don't remember if we've been to that because Sharon and I are starting to remember less and less every single day. We feels like we've been there before at this restaurant, but we're not really sure. And we sit down, and the waitress greets us like we've eaten there 20 times already. And we're looking at the menu, and Sharon orders a Cobb salad. Of course, with no hard-boiled egg and dressing on the side. And the waitress looks at her and says, you know, that's a really nice idea, but I want to tell you, you're going to really want the hamburger. We are great at making hamburgers. And Sharon says, that's really nice, but I don't really eat red meat. And the waitress says, yeah, but you used to eat red meat. You used to really like red meat. And so I really think you should have the hamburger. Now, if you've met Sharon, she's starting to get a little annoyed with the aggressive nature around the hamburger. So she says, I'll take the Cobb salad. And the woman says, well, you know, I don't even know if you know this, but your parents used to eat here when they were here. Do you know what they had? They had a hamburger every time because they loved the hamburger. I think maybe your grandparents used to eat here and they had a hamburger too. Sharon's like, I'll take the Cobb salad. The waitress looks and says, okay. And then she looks at me and she says, what would you like? And I, of course, being intimidated, said, I'll take the hamburger. And about 10, 12 minutes later, after Sharon and I have whispered under our breath that we couldn't believe this was happening, out walks this very happy, bubbly waitress, and what does she have in both hands? A hamburger. She sets it down in front of me and Sharon, and let me just ask you, would you eat the hamburger? And if you wouldn't eat the hamburger, would you leave? And if you would leave, now let's be honest, how many people would you tell this story to about the dinner you had last night where you couldn't even get the food that you wanted? So I want to ask you, is that what we're doing as Jewish community? Because I think we might be. We have asked the very community that we aspire to serve what they want. And then they tell us, and then we give them what we want them to want. We give them what we are good at. We give them what we're great at. We give them what their parents wanted and what their grandparents wanted. And I have to tell you, I don't think it's working. And it's not I don't think it's working because Mark Shapiro is telling you he thinks it's not working. I'm telling you it's not working because the people that we aspire to serve are telling us it's not working in study after study after study. Remember the comment before about the pandemic we probably could have avoided with science, right? The whole data concept. Their data is right in our face. People are telling us that they don't like what the generation before did. The Pew study of 2021 showed us what we all knew was happening. A decrease in Jewish practices, an increase in Jewish peoplehood. When asked in the Pew study, what are the top 4 activities that make you identify with being Jewish? Here they are, you ready? Cooking and eating traditional Jewish foods, visiting synagogues and historic Jewish sites when traveling, marking Shabbat in a way that is meaningful to them, and sharing Jewish culture or holidays with non-Jewish friends. That's what they're telling us. And not by a little, by a lot. Like in the 70 and 80% of the people who responded, that's what they're telling us makes them feel Jewish. So we are actually living during a time where people are the most hyper-empowered that they've ever been. And I would then challenge us. Do we need to come up with something that's brand new? Do we have to recreate the wheel? Or perhaps we could just look at what's working today for the people that we aspire to serve. So stick with me for another minute or two. Whew, I'm doing okay. If I had told you 15 years ago that I wanted you to invest in a company called Airbnb, whereby people would have a website, they would connect two random individuals, and then people would just go live in other people's houses, you would think I was crazy. But it's working. I just stayed in somebody's house the other day. There's no front desk, there's no manager, just two complete strangers connecting, and each of them getting what they want. One of them renting their house out and getting an income, the other person getting a really weird 5-bedroom Victorian house in St. Paul, Minnesota. Uber's the same idea. They're not a transportation company, they don't own a single car. They take two random individuals, one of whom has a car and would like to drive whenever they feel like it and not drive whenever they don't feel like it. And other people would say, well, maybe I'll carpool today, or I'd really like to be in a very large SUV. And we get what we want and we pair up together. So could we be a platform instead of a service provider? Could we connect hyper-empowered individuals with the things they want instead of just telling them what they want by creating programs and hoping that we got it right? I don't know. I really don't. I actually don't know how we would do it, and I don't even know what it would look like. I'm actually just throwing it out there to see. So we did take it out for a little test drive this year during Hanukkah. We have a lot of different menorahs that need to get lit in this town. A giant bridge, a menorah here on our main street of the JCC. We also have a really big one on Silver Spring Road in Whitefish Bay. And our team said we can't run them all, so we decided we would try and see if we could get the big menorah on Silver Spring lit. We reached out to PJ Library families, and in one day, all 8 nights were signed up for, and our plan was real simple. Hot chocolate sufganiyot, lure them in, ask them to take a picture of themselves in front of the menorah, and call it a day. No rabbi, no prayers, no time. They only had to take a picture in front of the menorah, and they had to make sure they lit the right number of light bulbs. And all 8 nights got gobbled up. And 3 of the pictures, Rabbi Sherry Shama and I looked at them, no idea who the people were in them, none. They're on the PJ Library list, they get the books, but they don't come to our programs. But offer them the chance to get connected with a menorah on Main Street, they'll take it. So tonight, I'm gonna ask you to do something. I want you to start a courageous conversation with someone. Now, I'll offer me as part of it, but I gotta be honest with you, I really want you to find somebody else. Invite someone to a cup of coffee and say, I don't know what the hell Mark was talking about, but I do. I had that either one of the feelings. You could either have had the hair stood up because it was really, or nauseous, either one. But if it did either of those to you, then I hope that you would find a way to connect with someone or connect with me, because I'd really love to hear if you have an idea on what we can do about this. Now, let me be clear. We offer tremendous programs and services at our JCC, and I think we always will. But can we also offer a platform to Jewish people? Our name, the Jewish Community Center, is actually our mandate. We have the ability to create a sense of community that is infused with great meaning and embracing the diversity of our community and accepting our constituents as they are, including those who describe themselves as cultural Jews or just Jewish, or the unbelievably large, growing population of non-religious Jews, not describing any particular behavior that we want them to do, but instead how we can help continue to be their partner as they grow as people and Jews in the way in which they want to. So where did I start this? It was the mission statement, and then it was the imposter syndrome. So just let me know if your hair stood up at all and if it actually connected in any way. If you completely disagree, good, it connected. If you're interested, good, it connected. If you're asleep, then it missed the mark. So, I often feel as though I'm blessed. I say it all the time, and I am blessed to get to be the CEO of our JCC. I know, though, that I am blessed to be supported by my amazing family. I want you to know that way more than 50% of the good ideas that I ever have are actually Sharon's. They happen at the dinner table, and like any good husband, I take full credit for them publicly at all times. But tonight, the truth does come out, and I will tell you I would not be half the CEO, father, or person that I am without Sharon in my life, so thank you. And I am inspired to build a post-pandemic new reality with all of you, pretty much selfishly because of my daughters. Carly and Sophie have both taken on the challenge of building their own Jewish communities, and I've taken now to stealing their ideas and their speeches and sometimes giving them credit for it. So it's only a couple of minutes over my time. It's getting late. It's time for us to enjoy a nosh and mostly to enjoy each other and be a community together. On behalf of the board of directors of the JCC, of which Nancy Barnett is no longer the chair of, and all of the people who are here, I just want to say thank you for being a part of our JCC's 2021-2022 annual meeting. I didn't have to say the Piramax Bank line as much as Jody did. So enjoy something to drink, stay, have dessert. Thank you so much. Congratulations to all of our award winners, and have a great night.